The day I discovered my husband was cheating, I thought the worst part would be the betrayal. I was wrong. The worst part was sitting across from a woman I had never met while she calmly described my marriage better than I could. My house, my routines, my husband's lies, like she'd been watching us the entire time. Then she said something that still chills me. If you leave now, you will protect them. That was the moment I realized silence could be more dangerous than screaming and far more powerful. Hi, my name is Clara Monroe, and before everything fell apart, I thought my life was boring in the safest way possible. I was 36 years old, married for 8 years, living in a clean, 2-bedroom apartment in Seattle that always smelled like laundry detergent and leftover coffee. The kind of place that looks stable from the outside. The kind of life people call settled. I used to think settled meant secure. Now I know it can also mean unquestioned. The day everything changed didn't come with screaming or shattered plates. It came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon in a bookstore cafe downtown. One of those cozy places with indie music humming low, strangers pretending not to listen to each other's conversations. I was working on my laptop, half focused, half exhausted, when a woman stood at my table and said my name like she already knew me. Clara Monroe? I looked up, confused. She was maybe early 40s, sharp eyes, dark coat still damp from the rain. Not nervous, not dramatic, calm in a way that made my stomach tighten. She asked if she could sit. Something in my chest told me this wasn't a random interaction. I nodded. She didn't waste time. No small talk, no apologies. "My name is Elise Turner," she said, "and I think our lives are about to collide." That sentence landed heavy. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup like she needed something solid to hold on to. Then she said it, slow, careful, like she'd rehearsed it 1,000 times. "My fiancé is seeing your husband." No yelling, no whispering, just truth dropped flat on the table between us. I didn't cry. I didn't ask her to repeat it. I felt something colder than anger slide through my body. Suspicion hurts, but confirmation? That's brutal. That's when your brain stops arguing and starts adjusting. She watched my face closely, like she was measuring how much I could handle. Then she said the line that still echoes in my head. "Whatever you do, don't confront him yet." I stared at her like she'd lost her mind. Not confront my husband? That sounded insane, weak, like letting him win. But Elise wasn't weak, I could tell. She leaned in and lowered her voice. People think reacting fast makes them strong. It doesn't. It makes them predictable. That's when she told me something I wasn't ready to hear. If he knows you're onto him, he'll erase everything. Phones, messages, stories. He'll turn you into the crazy one. And once that happens, you don't control the ending anymore. My hands were shaking under the table, but my face stayed still. I've always been good at that, holding it together when I'm breaking inside. Before I could respond, she slid a folded piece of paper toward me. Not photos, not proof, a phone number. "When you're ready," she said, "call me. And whatever you do, don't move first." Then she stood up, walked out into the rain, and disappeared. I sat there for a long time after that, laptop closed, coffee untouched, my reflection staring back at me through the dark window like I didn't recognize myself anymore. On the way home, I replayed my marriage in my head like a bad highlight reel. Andrew working late, Andrew turning his phone face down, Andrew suddenly caring about his appearance after years of sweatshirts and excuses. I told myself I was overthinking it. I always did. That night, Andrew came home around midnight, kissed my forehead, asked about my day. Same voice, same smile, same lie, wrapped so neatly I almost believed it again. I lay next to him in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to him fall asleep like nothing in the world was wrong. But something was wrong. I didn't know it yet, but that bookstore cafe was the moment my life split in two. The woman I used to be, and the woman who was about to learn how dangerous patience can be. And the scariest part? I was just getting started. I thought that day was about betrayal. I didn't realize it was actually the beginning of a war fought in silence, and the first move hadn't even been made yet. After that day in the bookstore cafe, nothing looked different, but everything felt off, like I was living inside a lie that hadn't realized it was exposed yet. Andrew woke up the next morning like always. Same alarm, same stretch, same casual, "Morning, babe," while he poured coffee into his travel mug. I watched him from the kitchen, noticing things I'd ignored for years. The way he avoided eye contact when he checked his phone, how fast he locked the screen when I walked past, how practiced his movements were, like muscle memory had taken over honesty. I smiled. I always smiled. That was the first rule I made for myself. Don't change. Not your tone, not your routine, not your face. If I was going to survive this, I had to play it cool, Oscar-worthy cool. Andrew said he'd be late again. "Work's been insane," he told me, rubbing his temples like he was carrying the weight of the world. I nodded and said, "Yeah, I get it." That sentence tasted like metal in my mouth. The house felt heavier after he left, too quiet. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at nothing, replaying Elisa's words, "Don't move first." I wanted to scream. I wanted answers. I wanted to grab his phone and rip the truth out of it. Instead, I opened a notebook. Nothing dramatic, no spying, no hacking, just dates and times. When he left, when he came home, what he said, what didn't add up. At first, I told myself this was temporary, that maybe Elise was wrong. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe this notebook would stay empty. It didn't. Andrew's late nights turned into patterns. Tuesdays and Thursdays were the worst. He'd leave early, come home close to midnight, smelling like a different soap. Not cologne, something sharper, hotel clean. I noticed his clothes changing, better fitted, new jackets, shoes he'd never worn before. He'd always been a jeans and hoodie guy. Now he looked upgraded, like someone was watching him. Weekends changed too. He started disappearing for errands that took hours, gym visits that left him oddly energized, not tired. He came home lighter, happier, like he'd just recharged somewhere I wasn't invited. And here's the part no one talks about: how lonely it feels to doubt someone without proof. It messes with your head, makes you question your instincts, makes you feel dramatic for noticing the obvious. I didn't tell my friends. I didn't tell my family. Saying it out loud felt like making it real, and I wasn't ready for that yet. One night, Andrew fell asleep on the couch, phone buzzing softly beside him. I stared at it. My heart was pounding so loud, I swear it could have woken him up. I didn't touch it, because the moment you cross that line, you give them ammo, and I wasn't ready to lose control. Instead, I started testing the truth quietly. When Andrew said he was staying late at the office, I drove past the building. His car wasn't there. I didn't confront him. I wrote it down. When he said he was flying out for a one-day work meeting, I casually asked where. He hesitated, just a beat too long before answering. That hesitation, I wrote it down too. This wasn't paranoia anymore. This was pattern recognition. And if you've ever been in this spot, where your heart already knows the truth, but your brain needs receipts, then you know how exhausting it is. That's why I'm telling this story slowly, piece by piece. If you're still here, still listening, you're already stronger than you think. Stay with me. The breaking point came on a Wednesday evening. I was meeting a friend for dinner downtown. We were seated near the window, city lights reflecting off the glass. I was mid-sentence when I saw him, Andrew, across the street, inside a restaurant, sitting with someone else. At first, I felt stupid for even looking, like I'd imagined it. Then he laughed, really laughed, the kind of laugh he hadn't shared with me in months. The man across from him leaned in, their heads close, comfortable, familiar. Then Andrew reached across the table and touched his hand. Not rushed, not guilty, casual, like it wasn't the first time. My body went cold. My friend followed my gaze and swore under her breath. "Clara," she said softly, grabbing my arm, "we need to go." I let her pull me out, my legs barely working. I went home alone that night. The apartment felt staged, like a movie set after the actors leave. Andrew came home late again, told me a story. Same calm voice, same ease. I realized something terrifying in that moment. He wasn't lying anymore. He was performing. And that's when I made a promise to myself. I wouldn't cry yet, I wouldn't break yet, and I definitely wouldn't confront him without proof. Because whatever this was, it wasn't over. I thought seeing him with someone else would shatter me. Instead, it sharpened me. And the next step I took would change everything, because I was about to stop guessing and start watching closely. Before I continue, let me pause here for a second, because if you're still listening right now, it means this story hit a nerve. Stories like this don't always come with warning signs or clean endings. They unfold slowly, in silence, while the rest of the world keeps moving. And if you've ever felt that quiet panic of realizing something in your life isn't what it looks like, then this channel is for you. I'm sharing this not for drama, but because sometimes hearing someone else survive the moment you're afraid of helps you breathe again. So if you want to follow this story all the way through and hear how patience turns into power, make sure you're subscribed. Stay close, because what comes next is where the truth stops hiding. And if this feels familiar, drop a like, not for me, but so this story reaches someone else who might need to hear it right now. All right, let's keep going. I didn't call Elise right away. I carried her number around for 3 days like it was a loaded weapon. Every time I touched my phone, my heart jumped, because calling her meant crossing a line, admitting that what I saw wasn't a fluke, wasn't paranoia, wasn't something I could talk myself out of anymore. On the 4th night, Andrew came home smelling like hotel soap again. That was it. I locked myself in the bathroom, turned on the fan so he wouldn't hear my voice shake, and dialed the number. Elise picked up on the 2nd ring. "I was wondering when you'd call," she said. We met the next afternoon at a diner just off the highway. Vinyl booths, flickering fluorescent lights, the kind of place people don't look twice at, which felt right. Elise was already there, sitting with her back to the wall, alert, controlled. She didn't ask how I was doing. She asked, "What did you see?" I told her everything. The late nights, the lies, the restaurant, the hand on the table, the way Andrew's voice didn't change when he lied to my face. Elise listened without interrupting. When I finished, she nodded once, like she'd just confirmed a hypothesis. "Okay," she said, "then it's farther along than I hoped." She slid a manila folder across the table. Inside were printed screenshots, call logs, hotel receipts, time-stamped photos, Andrew and her fiancé laughing outside a bar, entering the same building late at night, standing too close to be explained away. I felt sick and relieved at the same time. "So I'm not crazy," I said quietly. "No," Elise replied, "you're just late to the truth." She explained how she'd figured it out months earlier. A missed call, a deleted message, a credit card charge that didn't match the story she'd been told. At first, she'd confronted him. He cried, promised, sworn it was over. That was her mistake. "He just got better at hiding it," she said flatly. That's when she told me something that changed the entire direction of my life. She had hired a private investigator. Not to stalk, not to intimidate, to document. Legally, methodically, no emotions, just facts, dates, patterns. "I'm not trying to ruin them," she said. "I'm trying to make sure they don't rewrite history." She looked me straight in the eyes. "If you want out clean, you wait. If you want the truth to matter, you stay quiet." Silence again. That word followed me everywhere. I hesitated. Teaming up with a stranger felt risky, dangerous, but doing nothing felt worse. "What do you need from me?" I asked. Elise didn't hesitate. Nothing illegal, nothing emotional, just observation and honesty. That night, I went home and climbed into bed next to Andrew, who was already asleep. His arm draped across me like muscle memory. I stared at the ceiling, my heart pounding. From that moment on, I lived two lives. By day, I was the same wife, same routines, same smiles, same questions about his day. I made dinner, I folded his laundry, I said goodnight. By night, I wrote everything down. Not opinions, not feelings, just facts. When Andrew said he was going to the gym, I noted the time he left and the time he returned. When he said he was traveling for work, I wrote the city and dates exactly as he said them. Elise cross-checked quietly. If Andrew claimed a late meeting, her fiancé left his office at the same time. If Andrew said he was out of town, Elise's fiancé's credit card charges appeared in the same city. The overlap was too perfect to ignore. And the scariest part? Andrew relaxed. He grew affectionate again. More jokes, more casual touches, like he thought he'd gotten away with something. That's what liars do when they feel safe. One evening, while looking for a utility bill, I found something that made my hands go cold. A lease agreement. 2-bedroom condo, signed solely by Andrew, dated weeks earlier than his excuses. I photographed every page, put it back exactly where it was, and locked myself in the bathroom until my breathing slowed. When I told Elise, she didn't celebrate. She said, "Good, but don't move. Evidence only matters when it's clean." The waiting was torture, but it was also changing me. I wasn't spiraling anymore. I was focused, controlled. I wasn't reacting. I was preparing. I thought gathering proof would make this easier. It didn't. Because the more I learned, the clearer it became. This wasn't just an affair. It was a whole other life, and I was about to see how deep it went. By the 4th week of watching quietly, I started to notice something strange. Andrew wasn't getting more careful. He was getting sloppy. That's the thing about people who lie long enough. They stop fearing consequences and start believing their own performance. The tension drains out of them. The caution fades. And confidence? Confidence makes people reckless. Andrew came home smiling more, humming sometimes. He even started cooking dinner again, like he was trying to balance some invisible scale. Guilt disguised as effort. If I didn't know what I knew, I might have fallen for it. But I was wide awake now. One night over pasta, he mentioned a last-minute work trip to Portland. 2 days, short notice. He delivered it casually, like it barely mattered. I nodded. "Okay, text me when you land." My voice didn't shake. My hands didn't tremble. Inside, my heart was racing. I messaged Elise the second he left the room. Within an hour, she replied. Same story, same dates. That was when I realized this wasn't coincidence. It was choreography. Andrew left early the next morning. He kissed my cheek, grabbed his bag, and told me he'd miss me. I smiled and closed the door behind him. Then I sat on the floor and breathed through the anger until it passed. Elise's investigator confirmed it by that evening. Hotel booking under a shared rewards account, 2 key cards issued, same floor, same room. Facts don't yell, they stack. Andrew came back from Portland relaxed and careless. He tossed his jacket on the chair, complained about boring meetings, and handed me a small souvenir chocolate from the airport shop. I thanked him, like I already knew who he'd slept beside. A few days later, he said something that nearly made me choke on my coffee. "I've been thinking," he said, not looking at me. "The commute's killing me. Maybe I should rent a small place closer to work during the week. Just temporary." Temporary. The word liars love most. I paused just long enough to seem thoughtful. Then I nodded. If it helps your stress, you should do it. That was the moment the game changed. Elise confirmed the address 2 days later. A condo, 2 bedrooms, close to both of their offices, parking access, utilities already activated. They weren't sneaking anymore. They were building. Andrew moved a few clothes first, claimed he'd be back on weekends, promised it was just for work. I helped him pack. And here's the darkest truth I haven't said out loud before. That calm scared him more than any screaming match ever could. Once he started staying at the condo regularly, the evidence multiplied fast. Grocery receipts, overnight parking logs, shared streaming accounts, shared routines. They lived like a couple who thought they were invisible. And maybe they were, except us. Elise and I met weekly now. Same diner, same booth, same rules. No emotions, no speculation, just facts. We called it the ledger. Every date, every lie, every overlap. It was methodical, cold, necessary. Andrew stopped checking in as much. His texts became brief, polite, distant, like a man already gone but still pretending to care. And that hurt more than the affair. One night, lying alone in the apartment, I realized something important. I wasn't waiting anymore. I was ready. Ready to end this. Not loudly, not dramatically, but completely. Elise texted me 3 words that night. We can file. I stared at the screen for a long time, because filing meant exposure, collapse, consequences. It meant the end of pretending, and once that door opened, there was no closing it. I thought catching them would bring closure. Instead, it brought a decision, one that would end everything in a single morning and leave nowhere for the truth to hide. The night Elise texted, "We can file," I didn't answer right away. I set my phone face down on the nightstand and stared at the ceiling like it might give you permission. Filing meant ending the waiting. It meant pulling the pin without warning. It meant stepping into the version of my life that couldn't be undone. I wasn't scared of losing Andrew anymore. I was scared of what would happen after the truth was exposed. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm. The apartment was quiet in that hollow way it gets when someone's already halfway gone. I made coffee I didn't drink and watched the steam curl upward like it was carrying my old life with it. Andrew texted around 9. "Running late today, meetings all morning." I didn't reply. Instead, I called Elise. "Let's do it," I said. We met separately with our attorneys, no joint meetings, no dramatic entrances, just 2 women walking into offices with thick folders and steady voices. My lawyer flipped through the documents carefully. Timelines, photos, receipts, lease agreements, proof of cohabitation. He looked up at me and nodded once. "This is solid," he said. "Very solid." Hearing that felt like finally exhaling after months of holding my breath. We chose a Monday, 10 a.m. sharp, both filings submitted within minutes of each other, coordinated, quiet, surgical. No warnings, no conversations, no chances for damage control. At exactly 10:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Andrew. I let it ring. At 10:42, he called again. I still didn't answer. By noon, his texts shifted from casual to confused. "Hey, are you okay? Why isn't your phone on? Clara?" I didn't respond until he was officially served. He showed up at the apartment that evening holding the papers like they were written in another language. His face was pale, his eyes darted around like he was looking for a hidden camera. "What is this?" he demanded. "Is this some kind of mistake?" I stood in the doorway and let him talk himself in circles. Then I said it, calmly, clearly, without heat. "I know about the condo. I know about Portland. I know about the lease, and I know you're living with him." His mouth opened, closed, opened again. I watched the realization crawl across his face, the understanding that this wasn't a guess, wasn't a bluff, wasn't a phase. I told him Elise's fiancé had filed the same morning. That's when he sat down. Hard. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was exposed. There was nowhere left for his lies to stand. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," he said finally. That sentence didn't land the way he thought it would. because what I heard was, I didn't think I'd get caught. I didn't argue, I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I told him the conversation was over and asked him to collect what he needed and leave. He packed quietly, no dramatics, no apologies that mattered. When the door closed behind him, I slid down the wall and sat on the floor, not because I was broken, but because something heavy had finally been put down. The days that followed were strangely peaceful. The attorneys handled communication, numbers were exchanged, proposals floated, counteroffers made. Andrew tried to negotiate fast, too fast, like speed could erase responsibility. Elise said her fiancé did the same. They both wanted quiet endings, clean exits. No one likes being remembered for how things really ended. But the records didn't care what they wanted. Court wasn't dramatic, no speeches, no shouting, just facts being reviewed, one by one. Dates didn't argue, receipts didn't stutter, lies collapsed under timestamps. When the ruling came, it wasn't emotional, it was final. Walking out of that building, I felt something unexpected. Light. Not happy, not triumphant, just light. Like I'd been carrying a backpack full of stones I didn't know how to remove, and someone had finally set it down for me. That night, I slept through till morning without waking once, for the first time in months. I thought filing would be the hardest part. I was wrong, because the real challenge wasn't ending the marriage, it was learning who I was without the lie I'd been living inside. And that part was just beginning.
Everyone thinks the hard part is the confrontation. It's not. The hard part comes after, when the noise dies down, the paperwork is done, and you're left alone in a space that no longer belongs to the life you built. The first morning after Andrew moved out, I woke up to silence that felt unfamiliar, not heavy. No alarm going off on his side of the bed, no half-asleep argument about whose turn it was to make coffee. Just light spilling through the blinds and a stillness that made me pause. For a second, panic flickered. What now? Then something unexpected happened. I stretched. I didn't rush. I didn't check my phone immediately. I just lay there, listening to my own breathing, realizing I wasn't bracing myself for anything anymore. That realization hit harder than any argument ever could. The apartment looked different without him. Not emptier, clearer. I walked through each room slowly, noticing details I'd stopped seeing years ago. The scuff on the wall from moving in, the plant I'd kept alive despite everything, the kitchen table where I'd worked and worried at the same time. I opened every window. Cold Seattle air rushed in like it was flushing something out. Over the next few weeks, life became procedural. Final signatures, asset transfers, logistics, clean and boring in the best way. Andrew's voice existed only through emails filtered by lawyers. No emotion, no manipulation, just facts and deadlines. That distance saved me. Elise and I talked less now, not because we didn't care, but because we didn't need to anymore. The alliance had served its purpose. What we shared wasn't friendship, it was survival. One afternoon, she texted me, "It's done, all of it." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, "Good, take care of yourself." And that was it. No celebration, no victory lap, just relief. The strangest part was how quickly my body adjusted. I slept through the night, I ate real meals again. My shoulders stopped living up near my ears. I didn't flinch every time my phone buzzed. I realized how much of myself I'd shrunk to keep peace with someone who was already gone. Friends started noticing the change before I did. "You look lighter," one of them said over brunch, "like you dropped something heavy." She wasn't wrong. I repainted the bedroom, soft gray, neutral, mine. I rearranged the furniture so nothing sat where it used to. I wasn't erasing memories, I was refusing to orbit them. One night, while cleaning out a drawer, I found an old birthday card Andrew had written years ago. It said, "I'm not great with words, but I'll always show up." I laughed. Not bitter, just clear. Showing up isn't proximity, it's presence. and presence doesn't disappear quietly. I threw the card away and felt no guilt. That was when I knew I'd crossed the real finish line, not the legal one, the emotional one. I started doing things just because I wanted to. Long walks with no destination, late-night grocery runs, music playing loud enough to fill the apartment without asking permission. I wasn't healed, but I was healing. And here's the truth no one tells you. Closure doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like calm, like finally standing on solid ground after years of adjusting your balance for someone else. One evening, sitting alone on the couch, I realized something else. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger burns hot, but it also keeps you tied to the thing that hurt you, and I was done being tied. I didn't win because Andrew lost. I won because I got myself back. Still, there was one question that lingered in the quiet. If I hadn't waited, if I had confronted him the first night, if I had let emotion lead instead of intention, would I have ended up here? The answer mattered because it was bigger than my marriage. It was about how power really works. I thought the story ended when he left. I didn't realize the final lesson was still waiting for me, one that would change how I trust, how I love, and how I choose myself next time.
There's a moment after everything ends when your brain starts replaying the past like it's looking for a different ending. Mine did it late at night. I'd be half asleep, staring at the ceiling, and suddenly I'd be back in the early days. Andrew and I laughing on a cheap couch, eating takeout straight from the boxes, talking about nothing like it was everything. Those memories tried to soften him, tried to convince me that maybe I'd exaggerated. Maybe I'd been too cold, too strategic. That's when I realized something important. Healing doesn't erase nostalgia. It teaches you not to let nostalgia lie to you. I started writing, not for evidence this time, but for myself. Pages of thoughts I'd swallowed for years, things I'd minimized to keep the peace, moments when my gut had spoken and I told it to shut up. Patterns emerged. Every time I'd felt uneasy, I'd explained it away. Every time he'd pulled back, I'd leaned in harder. Every time I'd asked for clarity, I'd accepted vagueness. I wasn't weak. I was loyal to the wrong version of reality. That realization stung more than the betrayal itself. I met my therapist on a Wednesday afternoon. First session, neutral office, no judgment. She asked me one simple question that knocked the air out of my lungs. When did you first feel alone in your marriage? I didn't have to think. Years ago, I said. I just didn't know that's what it was. That was the pattern. Loneliness wrapped in routine, silence mistaken for peace, stability confused with safety. Andrew didn't wake up one day and decide to leave. He practiced leaving quietly until it felt normal. And I helped by filling the gaps with hope. Understanding that didn't make me hate myself. It made me respect myself more. Because once I saw it clearly, I stopped blaming the version of me that survived it. I also stopped romanticizing silence. Silence isn't strength when it's fear. Silence is strength when it's chosen. That distinction changed everything. Friends started opening up to me after the divorce, stories they'd never told anyone, marriages that felt fine but empty, relationships that looked perfect online and hollow at home. I noticed how many people were living in quiet compromise, telling themselves it was maturity. It isn't. Maturity is honesty, with yourself first. One night, scrolling through old photos, I deleted every picture where I remembered feeling small. Not sad, small. The ones where my smile didn't reach my eyes. I didn't do it angrily. I did it intentionally. Letting go doesn't always hurt. Sometimes it feels like relief. I stopped asking myself why he did it. That question has no bottom. Instead, I asked why I stayed quiet so long. The answer wasn't fear of losing him. It was fear of disrupting the life I thought I was supposed to want. Once I named that fear, it lost its power. I started trusting myself again, not blindly, but honestly.
If something felt off, I didn't gaslight myself into calm. I paid attention. That's the lesson I wish I'd learned earlier. Your intuition doesn't shout, it whispers. And if you ignore it long enough, it stops talking to you. I didn't want that version of me back, the one who needed proof to believe her own feelings, the one who thought endurance was the same as love. I wanted better, and for the first time in a long time, I believed I could have it. I thought the hardest part was learning what went wrong. I didn't realize the real test was deciding what I'd allow next, because the story wasn't ending here. It was opening a door I never thought I'd walk through.
I didn't reinvent myself overnight. There was no dramatic haircut, no impulsive move across the country, no viral glow-up moment where everything magically clicked. Real life doesn't work like that. Healing is quieter, slower. It sneaks up on you while you're busy just trying to breathe again. At first, my world stayed small. Morning walks, work at the kitchen table, cooking meals for one, and realizing, surprisingly, that I liked it. I could eat cereal for dinner without apologizing to anyone. I could change plans without explaining myself. That freedom felt strange, almost suspicious, like I was waiting for someone to take it away. But no one did. Weeks passed, then months, and something subtle shifted. I stopped checking my phone for messages that weren't coming. I stopped replaying conversations in my head, wondering if I'd said the wrong thing. I stopped bracing myself when the door opened. Peace became normal. One afternoon, I ran into Andrew by accident at a grocery store. Same aisle, same brand of coffee we used to argue about. For a split second, my chest tightened. Muscle memory. He looked smaller, not physically, energetically, like someone who'd spent too long pretending and finally ran out of energy to keep it up. He smiled awkwardly, asked how I was. "I'm good," I said, and I meant it. There was no rush of anger, no urge to say more, no need to prove anything. The conversation ended as quickly as it began. I walked away feeling taller. That's when I understood something important. Closure isn't something someone gives you. It's something you recognize when their presence stops affecting your nervous system. I started saying yes to things again. A coworker's invite for drinks, a weekend trip with friends, a class I'd always wanted to take but never had time for. Time, it turns out, was something I'd been rationing for years. The more space I created, the more myself I found in it. I laughed louder, slept deeper, trusted my instincts without needing external validation. I wasn't hard, I wasn't bitter, I was clear. And clarity is addictive. People sometimes asked if I'd ever date again. The question used to scare me. Now it didn't. I wasn't afraid of love. I was afraid of disappearing inside it again. So I made a promise to myself. No more shrinking to keep things smooth. No more accepting half answers to full questions. No more confusing calm with connection. If something felt off, I would listen. That promise changed how I moved through the world. I noticed red flags sooner. I also noticed green ones. Consistency, accountability, presence. The stuff that doesn't need grand gestures to feel real. One night, sitting on my couch with the windows open and music playing softly, I realized how far I'd come. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was choosing, and that choice, made over and over in small, quiet ways, was rebuilding me from the inside out. This chapter of my life didn't look impressive from the outside. No chaos, no drama, just intention. But intention is powerful, because once you stop reacting to the past, you start designing the future, and mine was finally mine. I thought peace was the end of the story. I didn't realize it was just the foundation, because something unexpected was about to enter my life,
and it would test everything I'd learned about trust, strength, and who I'd become. I didn't plan on letting anyone new get close to me. That wasn't fear talking, it was self-respect. I liked my life quiet, predictable in a good way. No emotional whiplash, no guessing games, just me, my routines, and the steady feeling of knowing exactly where I stood. Then life did what it always does. It tested me. I met him in the most unremarkable way possible. A friend of a friend's situation at a small get-together. Nothing romantic, no sparks flying across the room, just conversation that didn't feel forced. His name was Jonah. He wasn't flashy, didn't dominate the room, didn't perform. He listened, actually listened, and that alone felt dangerous. We talked about work, books, dumb things we'd both watched recently. When the night ended, I realized something unsettling. I hadn't once checked my phone. That should have felt good. Instead, it scared me, because closeness used to be where I lost myself. Jonah asked for my number. I gave it to him without thinking, and then spent the whole drive home questioning that decision like I'd just broken my own rule. The first few weeks were easy. Texts that didn't feel urgent, plans that didn't feel pressured, no love bombing, no emotional shortcuts. That was the problem. There were no red flags to react to, and without chaos, I didn't know what role to play. One night, after a perfectly normal date, I got home and sat on the edge of my bed with that familiar tightness in my chest. Not because Jonah had done anything wrong, but because everything felt healthy, and healthy felt unfamiliar. I caught myself scanning for warning signs, delays in replies, changes in tone, anything I could latch onto as proof that I needed to pull back before I disappeared again. That's when I realized something uncomfortable. I wasn't afraid of being hurt. I was afraid of being seen and choosing to stay anyway. I almost sabotaged it, ignored a message longer than necessary, kept conversations surface level, stayed guarded when he leaned in emotionally. Old survival instincts kicking in. But this time I noticed, and instead of running, I paused. I asked myself a question I'd never asked before. Am I protecting myself or am I hiding? That question didn't have an easy answer, so I did something new. I told the truth. Not all of it, not the full story, but enough. I told Jonah I'd been through something that taught me to move slowly, that trust wasn't automatic for me anymore, that silence and patience were things I took seriously. He didn't flinch. He didn't rush to reassure me. He didn't take it personally. He said, "That makes sense. We can go at your pace." And for the first time in a long time, I believed someone when they said that. Still, the real test came a week later. Jonah canceled plans last minute. Legit reason, work emergency. He apologized, offered to reschedule. My chest tightened instantly. Old Clara would have smiled and said it was fine while spiraling internally. New Clara felt the trigger but didn't obey it. I waited. He followed up, took responsibility, showed consistency. No guessing, no silence. That's when it hit me. Trust isn't built by intensity. It's built by what someone does when it would be easier not to. I wasn't healed because I felt nothing. I was healed because I could feel something and still choose wisely. That night, sitting alone with that realization, I smiled to myself. Because I wasn't the woman who stayed silent out of fear anymore. I was the woman who spoke when it mattered. I thought surviving betrayal was the hardest lesson. I was wrong. The real challenge was learning how to open the door again without handing over the keys to my identity. And the final chapter of this story would prove whether I truly had.
The funny thing about healing is you don't notice it happening. There was no final test, no dramatic moment where I stood in the rain choosing myself while some cinematic music played in the background. It was quieter than that, realer. It showed up in the way I stopped over-explaining my boundaries, in the way I didn't feel guilty for needing space, in the way I could love without negotiating my self-worth. Jonah didn't save me. That part matters. He wasn't a reward for surviving betrayal. He was simply someone who met me where I already stood. Whole. A little scarred, yeah, but aware. We kept moving slowly, intentionally. Some days felt easy. Some days triggered old reflexes. But this time, I didn't disappear when things got uncomfortable. I stayed present. The real proof came months later, during a conversation that would have terrified the old me. We were sitting on his porch, late evening, city noise humming in the background. I told him something honestly, something that might have scared him off. I told him what I needed to feel safe long term: consistency, transparency, emotional accountability. I didn't soften it. I didn't apologize for it. I said it calmly, steadily, like someone who finally trusted her own voice. He listened, and then he said, "I can do that. And if I ever can't, I'll tell you." No defensiveness, no promises he couldn't keep, just honesty. That was it. That was the moment. Not fireworks, not obsession, alignment. And for the first time in my life, I understood the difference. Love isn't intensity. It isn't sacrifice. It isn't endurance. Love is safety without boredom, passion without fear, connection without erasure. I looked back at the woman I used to be, the one who stayed quiet, who collected proof instead of peace, who thought strength meant silence. And I didn't feel shame. I felt compassion. She did the best she could with what she knew, but I knew more now. I knew that walking away doesn't mean you failed. I knew that patience is powerful, but only when it's paired with self-respect. And I knew that being alone is better than being unseen. My life didn't explode into perfection. It settled into something better. Honest mornings, clear conversations, a nervous system that finally felt at home. If you're listening to this right now and you're still in the dark part, the quiet suspicion, the loneliness you can't quite name, let me tell you something I wish someone had told me sooner. You're not crazy. You're not asking for too much. And silence doesn't mean peace. Sometimes it just means you're waiting to choose yourself. I did, and it changed everything. If this story felt a little too familiar, if it echoed something you've lived or something you're still surviving, then stay here. This channel isn't about perfect endings. It's about real ones, the kind that hurt first and heal later. So if you want more stories like this, stories about quiet strength, hard choices, and finding yourself again, subscribe and walk this journey with me. And if this helps you feel less alone, hit like so it reaches someone else who needs it tonight. Your story isn't over. Sometimes it's just waiting for you to speak.